What's good? My name's Alex. I'm 28 years old and was born in Washington, D.C. From third grade onward, I lived outside of the southeastern border in Maryland, specifically Prince George's County. That's where I did school, even like college. Like I went to the University of Maryland, moved around a little bit when I was a kid, on account of my dad being in the military. Usually when I'm outside of that context, I'll say like DC for simplicity's sake, but I would say DMV more broadly because not only was I born in DC and raised in Maryland, I spent a lot of time in Virginia. When it came to my Korean mother trying to find community, she had to go west into Virginia. And so at least once a week, we would take the highway, cross the Woodrow Wilson Bridge into Fairfax, Centerville, Annandale, like that area. And that's where the closest Korean community was. That's where we would go to church, the supermarkets, the restaurants, my optometrist, all of those things. And that's how I would stay connected. I kind of mantra or saying that I have as far as thinking about my story is this idea of like me perpetually being on the bridge, bridging these two cultures. It kind of parallels the journey that a lot of Korean Americans take when it comes to, leaving from the US to go to Korea. They tend to go west, crossing the Pacific Ocean, and then ending up here in Korea, here in the peninsula. And yeah, and I had that sort of parallel experience on a weekly basis. So starting with my dad, he's from Wilmington, North Carolina. Like after graduating high school, joined the Air Force. On his tours, would end up in Korea a good number of times. I want to say at least 2 to 3 times. For my mom, she's from Yeonggwang, which is in Jeollado. Eventually, she ended up in like, I want to say Gunsan area. And that's where my parents met because I think my dad was stationed over there. No more than 2 years did she come to the States, and then she had me, or I was born at Walter Reed Army Hospital in DC. My mom wasn't talking directly to me. I was always exposed to Korean language, whether that was like her talking to her friends, her maybe like ordering something or taking me to the supermarket. Some of the movies we have, like we had some, I think we still have some VHS tapes at home. They're American movies, but the subtitles are in Korean. My mom is a big Eddie Murphy fan, and so like a good number of the films we have are like Eddie Murphy films with Korean subtitles on them. What's unique, I think, for my experience is that though I am Korean, I don't consider myself Asian racially because I don't have that experience. Outside of other mixed folk, 9 times out of 10, I'm not seen as Asian or Korean. I don't get asked where I'm from in the States. Like that's a common experience for a lot of Korean Americans. Whereas like here in Korea, I have a, I get that question quite often and it has that particular connotation. For me, racial pride's not a thing. Like I have strong cultural ethnic pride, but I think racial pride is not really a thing for me because I feel like race is more like the external perception of you. When it comes to like, oh, like if I were to fill out the form of like, oh yeah, what's your race, culture, ethnicity, and nationality? It's like, okay, racially I'm Black, sometimes mixed. Ethnically, I'd say, I'm Black US, right? And then Korean, right? Or Korean American. And then nationality is American. In school in Prince George's County, which is predominantly Black, my friends were predominantly Black, right? When I would spend time in Virginia, it was the other side, right? Like spending time with Koreans and Korean Americans, especially in church. There's all these kind of cliche expressions about mixed identity as far as like, best of both worlds and two halves, one whole, like that sort of thing. And kind of struggling on both sides, honestly. Like I think there was a lot of moments where like, oh, I realized like my mixedness was at play. I've had a family member on my dad's side say like, oh, like, why are you speaking Korean right now? Or like, why are you speaking Korean around me? Like, not explicitly saying like you're mixed, you don't do that or anything like that. It's like kind of implied. Especially when I was younger, like subconsciously, like there was this sense of like, I need to fit in. I need to not stand out. I need to, be around people so I'm not lonely. You could like notice in my posture and like how I would talk or like move. Like it was very much like, okay, let me try to fit in as much as possible, when it came to like culture and things, like sometimes it's like I have to kind of suppress or like put away some parts of my identity in order to make sure like, oh, I had friends or like I had, people to hang out with, which, super unhealthy, right? Because it's like I'm putting stuff in a box that's just like kind of constantly overflowing. And it's like, all right, like, come on, stay in there, but it's like that strain that was putting on me or like that I was going through was like, not needed. When it came to kind of thinking about identity and culture personally, I did not get a chance to learn how to talk about it or think about it until college. I think throughout, like, as I was growing up, it's kind of autopilot. Like, other parts of my identity were more important. Like, oh yeah, like I'm a student or like I'm my parents' son, those types of things. So like when it came to culture and that sort of thing, like, yeah, unaddressed or like put on the back burner puzzle that I would have to solve. Fortunately, when I was in university, I had the opportunity to be a part of a student group specifically for mixed folks, and it really like gave me a sort of foundation to start understanding like, oh, like who I belong with. It really helped shape my thinking as well. Having the words to describe what's going on is super helpful, and like understanding the nuance of like race versus ethnicity versus culture versus nationality. It's like it's been really helpful, especially recently because I've grown through some changes, especially being out here in Korea. When it came to spending time with other Asian Americans more broadly, I think it was really tough for me to feel that sense of belonging at times. Like sometimes there was a little voice in my head that said like, this is weird, or like you don't belong here, like that sense of doubt. Like I feel good about it now because it was part of the journey of trying to figure out like who I am. And of course I got along with the Korean Americans, right? And like when it came to like hanging out with Asian American folk, right? Like I clicked with them more because we had more of the shared cultural experience, even though like I didn't have the shared racial experience, right? My ability to learn Korean comes very quickly because, being constantly exposed, I can kind of sense where like the vowel hits, where the sounds are and that sort of thing. And like what syllables require what emphasis. I get a lot of compliments on my pronunciation now, but then like during church, I remember having some like pretty like poignant moments of like a kid saying it doesn't sound right when you speak Korean. Now I'm in Korea. I feel like I had a kind of epiphany moment. I kind of brought myself back to a sort of feeling or longing that I had back in college. I was fortunate enough to do this month-long program called CASC, which stands for Korean American or Korean America Student Conference. It was like a very life-changing experience, right? The idea was that you took around 20 to 25 American students and then 20 to 25 Korean students. You got them together and did a month-long conference where you would stay overnight, various regions of either the U.S. or Korea. And so like one week each, roughly, you would spend in a different region and like, exchange ideas about culture and international relations and then also experience like the host country. After that experience was wrapped up, I was like, I need to be back here. Like I need to come back here as soon as possible. And, during 2020 and work culture kind of shifted and I got to a place professionally where I'm able to work remote, even across different time zones. It got me thinking like, oh, like, you know, that dream that's been on the back burner for like half a decade, we can take it off the stove, we can actually make it happen. And so once my lease was up in DC, I went ahead and took a flight and came back here, or came back to Korea after, say, 8 or 9 years. It's been great. It's been super freeing as I get more proficient in the language, and being able to practice and kind of move in different social situations. It feels good. My name is Alex Pryor, and this is my Korean American story.